what is the thing that you should do if you want to tell storytelling, if you want to offer, either faith or faith adjacent or biblical or religious storytelling? How would you go about doing it? I suspect you can already gather some of the answers just from what I'm saying on the negative side, because obviously the inverse, the positive, is the things that is commendable. So let's just talk about what some of those things are. So first of all, I think it's very important that somebody goes into the story without an agenda. So remember when I was talking about propaganda, right? The key element of propaganda and how you engage in propagandistic storytelling is you say, well, this is the thing I want to say. I want to give you, I used God's Not Dead as an example. I haven't actually seen it, but, okay. But, it's like, okay, this is the thing I want to do. I want to make an argument for belief in God. Okay, that's the thing. Now, what are the arguments I want to lay out? And you lay that out. And now let's build a structure on top of that. Let's figure out a story that ends up sort of fitting that thing that I want to say. Or you could do the same thing with climate change or whatever, right? We talked about that sort of thing. I think it's essential that you move into this story first, right? So the question is, what is the story that I want to tell? And I don't mean the message. I don't mean the theme. I don't mean the argument. I don't mean the moral. I mean, what's the story, right? You're starting with a story. I think it's also critical that when you're doing that, right, you're going into it without an agenda. So notice that what I had said about Mel Gibson and the Passion of the Christ, that when telling the story of the Passion of the Christ from a Catholic perspective, somebody who's not a Catholic could hypothetically make that movie. Now, of course, that's a tall order because they'd have to know as much about Catholicism and things like that. There'd be a lot of putting yourself in check. There'd be a lot of setting aside your own worldview, delving into other stuff. But that's what it takes, right? Like, look, if you're going to do a story that's precious to people, if you're going to do deep and rich source material, that's what you're required to do. So I think it's essential that when you're telling a story, one of the things you have to ask is something like, am I telling the story in such a way that anybody would have to tell it this way? Okay. Now, here's a little caveat. I'm not suggesting that there's only one version of the movie Braveheart. Of course not. What I mean is, notice when I talked about that Catholicism is all over that. And it's all over that because it's set in a Catholic context with Catholic characters and things like that. Or something like that with the mission. It's important to say, like, if I'm going to tell this story, am I telling it in a way that is true to the world and the worldview of these characters and things like that? So I don't know if the person who made the mission is a Jesuit, right? Or has Jesuit sympathies or not. And that's valuable, right? That's an indication that it's a well-told story, because what I realize is I'm realizing that this is really a story about these folks. Right. This is a story about these people within this world, about these Jesuits, about a conflict between these two Jesuits that start to emerge when they run into, a crisis and things like that. And it doesn't really matter whether the writer is a Jesuit, whether the director is a Jesuit. It doesn't matter if they believe what those guys believe, because they're telling their story. Right. And that's the key thing. The key question is, if I'm going to tell this story as a storyteller, it's important that I am a sympathetic storyteller, that I set aside my agenda, that I set aside my worldview, that I try to step into the characters and the world and the worldview of the story that I'm telling. And I think that's critical. Right. So that's a stark contrast there. In the one case, when you're doing propaganda, or any sort of, maybe it's not overt propaganda, but it's still message storytelling, right? What you're doing is you're starting with some sort of argument or message or something like that. And that's what you're leading with, and the story follows after that. In good storytelling, you're really starting with the story, right? What is the story that you want to tell? Now, that doesn't mean that you can't look for religious stories. I think it's perfectly acceptable, for example, to do something like, let's say that you're an Eastern Orthodox person and you want to tell the story of saints because you think those stories, those people embody a truth that you value. Great, right? Like, go for it. But the fact of the matter is, they shouldn't be, that person, that story shouldn't become a vehicle for whatever you want to shout to the world about, orthodoxy. It should be that story. right? And so it's not to say that you can't have your own sort of motivations for why you want to tell a story or why you love a story or something like that. But it really should be story first, where the key is like, what is the story being told? And with that, then, the key is building an authentic world, an authentic worldview, authentic characters and motives. So what does it mean when I say authentic? Well, by authentic, I mean true to the world and the characters of that story. Taking, for example, the mission, again, as our example, it's really important that you as a storyteller get to know Jesuit theology, that you get to know Jesuit culture, that you get to know the stories of real Jesuit figures like this, that you look for ways of authentically representing that community and the sort of worldview and practices that they represent. And that way, when you start to face questions like, okay, we have missing tissue here, right? There's a beat in the story where they get from here to here, and I don't know how they get from there to there. Like, I don't know what motivated this real guy to do that sort of thing. Well, when coming up with an explanation, you don't just sit there, if you're a good storyteller, you don't just sit there and go like, well, how would I have gotten there? Unless you're a Jesuit missionary from, whatever century, that's going to be the wrong answer. Like, what you need to do, like, yes, there's a certain level of general humanity that you can talk about in terms of motives and things like that. But you're going to want to get to know the worldview of the Jesuit and ask, how does that guy in that world, with his worldview and his motivations, how does he get from point A to point B? And that's part of the authenticity of that. And that's the sort of thing that comes through.
Hey, quick pause here. I'm going to be teaching an accredited college-level course that will begin in the coming months. But before I lock in the details, I want your input. You can take it for 3 credit hours with roughly 30 hours of lecture, homework, a grade, the whole shebang, including a transcript to send to the college of your choice, or you can audit the class, if you'd rather just sit in on the lectures with yours truly and do no homework. The class will be designed to work for anyone who can hang with an undergrad college course, be they advanced high school students, retirees, or anyone in between. So take a minute and fill out the poll. You'll find the link in the description below.
People who feel that this is really authentic, right? You can feel when a world is fully fleshed out and authentic. You can feel when when characters are fully fleshed out and authentic. This is the contrast again. Like, think of what I had said about these sort of two-dimensional cardboard characters that are in Mary. They are characters that are pure utility. They're there without being three-dimensional. They do whatever the writers want them to do whenever they need them to do that, because they're just chess pieces being moved. And for that reason, they're inconsistent. Sometimes they say this thing, then another thing, they say the exact opposite. And they're inconsistent because that's just what the writer needs somebody to do at that point. And so they're just sort of interchangeable cardboard cutouts. And you want to avoid that, right? And one of the ways in which you avoid that when you're dealing with characters is that they need to be a fully fleshed out character. They have to have a worldview. They have to have commitments. They have to have motivations and those sorts of things. Well, again, if you're going to tell a story about Spanish Jesuits, you have to actually understand Spanish Jesuits. And so this is where understanding the history of a story, right? The history, the culture of a story, understanding the commitments, the values of a story. Remember what I had said, that there's a certain type of anachronism that comes in. When all of a sudden, like, third wave feminism makes its way into the mouth of somebody who lives in the 18th century, that's weird, right? Somebody in the 18th century doesn't think that way. And so this is what betrays the fact that you're not actually telling their story. You're using them as a puppet to say the thing that you want to say. Right? Now they're just a mouthpiece for you. And you want to avoid that, right? So when you're talking about this, this is what I mean, where you build out a worldview that is fully fleshed out. You build out characters that are fully fleshed out. You build out motives that are fully fleshed out. And when you tell the story, it feels authentic for that reason. And that's really important. That's the sort of thing that, when you're telling these stories, that's what you do. Now, I had mentioned this idea of like organically Christian stories. I would say that's probably the right title for the sort of thing that I strive to do. The sort of stories I'm interested in telling are stories that are organically Christian. And what I mean by organically Christian, I mean something like Braveheart or something even like The Mission. Totally fine with it being very religious, like The Mission, where you're just telling the story of Spanish Jesuits. That's fine, right? Religion is even more pervasive in that story than in something like Braveheart. And yet it still doesn't come across as propagandistic, because at the end of the day, it seems true to the characters and to the world and to the worldview that it's telling, so much so that I really don't know if the writer and director have agendas in going into this, and that's a good sign. And so I think there is such a thing. I think it's worth picking the sorts of stories you want to tell. I don't think, let me give a little bit of an aside. I don't believe that there's such a thing as neutrality, secular neutrality. And so sometimes people will they'll try to wade into the waters of saying, well, like faith-based stuff, it has an agenda. It has a worldview. It's saying something. And like stuff that's not faith, secular movies don't do that. And that's not true. Like every storyteller is saying something, right? When you tell a story, there are inevitably, if you're going to have like good guys and bad guys, there's going to be a certain value judgment. Now, you might be wrong, right? Like you could tell the story of the Nazis from the Nazi perspective and make them sort of like the thwarted, tragic heroes. And you would have to, in order to do that, you'd have to be sympathetic to their worldview, and you would have to sort of paint the world the way they saw the world, right? And you could do that. But the fact of the matter is that whenever you do tell a story, you're taking a perspective. When you have these guys are good guys and these guys are bad guys, you're actually taking a certain vantage point. You're reflecting a certain moral set, a certain moral perspective, and so on. And even if you have tension within characters in terms of what's right and what's wrong, in order to feel the tension that the characters are feeling, you're going to have to, in some ways, be sympathetic to the sort of worldview that they live within in order to get to a place where you can see the tension that they're feeling, right? You need to be sympathetic to the worldview. And so I don't believe in this whole idea that somehow there are stories that are just stories and like there's no worldview underneath it and they're not saying anything and they don't have a vantage point and things like that. That's not true. I think all storytelling takes vantage points. All storytelling does take positions and things like that. So I don't think that's the issue. The issue isn't like don't have anything to say. Like that's crazy, right? Like that's not what I'm advocating. But what I will say is make sure that your primary concern is telling a story. And so for that reason, when you're selecting your stories, what you're looking for are what are the stories that reflect my values? What are the stories that reflect the things that I care about? What are the stories that I really see as like conveying some sort of truth that I think, people should hear, right? Those are the sorts of things where you're looking at the story first. What you're not doing is you're not starting with, like this is the thing, right? You're looking at the stories to say, what are the stories that are conveying something that I care about, that convey the values, the worldview, truths, that I care about, or even hypothetically, lay out problems that I think are real problems to be wrestled with, right? Or challenges that people face that are real things to be wrestled with. It doesn't always have to be definitive. I don't think The Mission, for example, for all that it does in terms of presenting a tension between like pacifism and activism, I don't think it actually answers who's in the right and who's in the wrong in that one, right? You get to the point of tension between the characters and the characters make their choices, but I don't think the film actually passes judgment on like what was the right thing to do there. And so stories can also present a dilemma and leave it to the audience to make those sort of final determinations and things like that. But the point is that at the end of the day, what you're really looking for is the story first, and then telling that story in an authentic way. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and follow, subscribe, hit like if that's an option on whatever you're listening to. All that sort of stuff really helps us out here. So I greatly appreciate your support. And until next time, I'm Nathan Jacobs, and this is the Nathan Jacobs Podcast.